designer thing. So if you're a character artist and you want to do it, here it is. I'm importing a model. So the first thing you want to do is import your character model. So we're going to do PA, Phantom Assassin from Dota 2. I'm going to go to the Arcana, FBX. I want to import it, roll this down, see how big it is. It's small. I want to import it again. And then I want to set it to centimeters. You can auto scale it as well, could help. That seems about right. You can go into the avatar editor. So you can move avatar, hide avatar, reset joints just by hitting right click anywhere on the avatar. You can move it up and down. But what I want to go is into avatar editor, just have a look at the arrangements. It automatically will try and put some kind of arrangements on there. You can use them if you want. I don't really use arrangements for now. So we have our avatar. If you want to put a texture on it, you can just click on the avatar. The property editor will come up. It may be in a different position for you, but you hit this texture square button. And so I go up to Phantom Assassin, Arcana, and I just find the body color. I whack that on. Has some undesirable effects. So I get rid of it. Yeah. But I can put the normal map if I have it. If I had it. But for now we're just gonna go blank. So what I might want to do is then move over here. So this is your 2D pattern window. This is your 3D window. First thing you want to do is turn your simulation to GPU. That'll allow you so that when you press space, you'll be simulating in GPU time. Over here, don't worry about any of this stuff. This edits patterns, splines and points and stuff like that. This draws your pattern, so you want to click on this first. So we're just going to do a rectangle. Just going to give her a really simple back and front skirt. So there we are. It's placed it in front of her. You can select it and double click here to set your pivot, because then now you can be like, I want to move my pivot to here. And so when you scale, it will scale over there. You can then move it to here, here, and here, anywhere you want. So I'm going to put it in the middle, and it will scale evenly from the center. Holding down Control doesn't seem to do the thing that I want it to do, so don't mind, don't worry about it. If you want to just scale uniformly from the center, double click the center point and you will get that. Otherwise, click it and it will scale it like that. So you want to edit, you want to start simulating your cloth. If you press space, the cloth will fall to the ground. You can right click the cloth and reset your 2D arrangement, which places it exactly as it is on the 2D grid. Or you can, like if you had it in a different spot, like if you had your 3D, say you built it in the 2D grid, but you wanted it to be, you know, up here. Then you simulate it and you're like, ah, cool. Okay, I want to reset that. Reset 3D arrangement, or Control F will reset it. You can also do this for universally everything. 2D and 3D arrangements are up here. So hitting space, you can pull on it. You can do a bunch of cool stuff. One of the most important things is hitting W. Hold down W while this tool is selected. Will let you drag and pin. See how it's orange now? And now it's pinned to 3D space. Very useful if you want to do something like this. You want to do something that's a little bit non-realistic. To get rid of these pins, the only way that I've found to get rid of them is to hold W and click. You can do this in and out of simulation mode, so you can press space to turn off the simulation, indicated here. And you've now placed a pin. You can also move that pin out of simulation mode and then watch simulation mode freak out. Sometimes your cloth will intersect with itself. You can sort of get away with pulling it around. to try and reset it, but usually the best way is to just reset 3D arrangement. So you'll notice that this cloth it's fairly okay. So we're gonna play, I'm just gonna show you how to change your cloth properties really quickly. So over here is the thing that you want to matter about the most, which is particle distance. So the lower the number, the more polygons you have. So if I put it to 5, you'll get way more detail out of the cloth when you run the simulation. It will also run slower, but it will look much nicer. It will contour to a lot of the things. See, it's contouring to each of the polygons on her head, like so. So this is I basically, when I'm modeling or when I'm setting up the cloth, I'll have it on 11 to 15. So it isn't so bad. When your simulation is turned off, you can move the thing wherever you want. Really helpful if you get it stuck on something, like if you have it intersecting your avatar and it just won't come out of it, you can move it. It also moves the 3D pin as well. So particle distance is really important. It increases and decreases the topology, especially if you do something like this and you're like, I don't want to reset it. What you can do is turn this up to 30, simulate it, and it should help because there's less vertices that are interacting. You should be able to untangle it really quickly with a 30 particle distance. It's being very strange right now. Whereas if I put this down to 5, it's gonna take a while for it to untangle because there's more vertices. Maybe not. Just play with it. Sometimes I have really good results with low particle counts, and sometimes I find it easier to detangle with higher particle counts. Like so. Now, another thing that you're going to want to pay attention to is the fabric type. So here we have a drop-down menu that can list fabrics, which is up here. So in the object browser in the fabric, you can select your fabric and it will come up with the property editors. So you want to give it a physical property, one of these presets. So if you want it to do some kind of silk, you got to keep clicking it. I like this one, Tafida, because it's very it's very slow. So I'm able to manipulate it, pause, see if I like this shape. I'll like fling it around a bit, especially with more like fantasy cloth where I want it to have a little bit more volume instead of just hanging straight down. I'll flick it around a bit, play around with it. Like so. And then be like, okay, so I have this, I'm going to freeze this one. Now I'm going to make a copy of this. So symmetrical pattern with sewing means that it'll make an instance of that pattern and copy any sewing that you do. We'll get that in a minute. I'm just going to make a instance of the pattern. So we made an instance, it's already made a duplicate over here. Now I want it to be at the back. Maybe I want it to be at the front. I can flip the normal. So it's upside down. There's a bug with the move tool, so you sometimes have to double click the mesh to get it to bring it up. And so now I have a frozen mesh and then I have a live mesh here. I will unfreeze. And now I can have layers of cloth interacting with each other. But one is frozen in time, so I can have the other one wrapping around it like so. So another thing, I'm just going to reset thing, unfreeze this. Reset 2D view. So I've got 2 panels here. I'm going to get rid of these pins. And so I want this at the back. I'm gonna flip normal. I'm gonna move this to the back. Now I'm gonna make this bigger, these two pieces bigger, so I can make a skirt. Maybe that was a bit big. Just needs to be big enough. So I'm going to teach you how to sew. So sewing is very simple. You can do it in 2D and 3D view. Basically, these little tags show you which direction you're sewing from. Very helpful if you have two pieces of cloth that are facing away from each other. So I click one edge, I click the other edge, and it will sew between them. And you can see the sew lines here. I'm going to turn this cloth down to 11, make it faster. I'm then going to add some avatar tape. I want the other one. Circumference avatar tape. Yes, I want that. Here we go. Tape on. I've never actually used avatar tape, so I don't know what it does. Guessing we'll find out. So we sewed those two pieces of tape to those two pieces of cloth together. We're going to sew these two. I'm just going to tack here using this. Put a tack here. Oops. Put a tack in the middle. Put a tack in the back. And I'll move this to here. Like so. When I press enter, the synchronization, the sim should stitch them together. But it freaked out. It probably will crash. Alright, so we reset the 3D view. Now it's flipped them, just gotta flip this normal again. Flip horizontal then. Flip normal. So, because it freaked out so much, I'm gonna move this like this. Move this here. I'm gonna make this a bit smaller. Makes both of them smaller. Drop this one down. Drop this one down. Simulate. And it should sew the two pieces of cloth together. There we go. It worked in the end. These two are stuck. Unstick them like that. Move this tack up here. I never use the tape because my characters that I work on at the moment are so complex that the tape just doesn't know how to work on them. They've got pieces of armor overlapping. It's a nightmare. So I just use pins. These are World's 3D pins to pin everything. So holding W, I'll just make another one. And you can see how this works. Now, internal lines. So internal polygon line, you can do ellipses. So if I wanted to make a hole, I can click this and go convert to hole. It will cut out a hole. I'm gonna see if I can get the internal line to actually stick to the tape. I've never actually used it before, so here we go. So I drew the line. Now I still have the line that I can keep clicking, but I'm just going to double click this point to finish it. Then press escape to exit the tool. I'm going to see if I can add tape somehow. So what this internal line does, you can do a lot of things with internal lines, which are really, really cool. The thing I've been using them for at work is making piping. So I would do something like this. So I made the internal line. What I'm going to do is there's a couple of ways you can edit the sewing. So I have this skirt. It's like this, right? Now I want to split up to here. There are two ways I can do that. I can go into edit sewing and I can just bring this up to here and then bring this other one up to here. Then it will split it. It'll glue this entire side to that small amount here. That's why we're getting a bunch of bunching here. Kind of a cool look, so I'll keep it. Because you're putting what? You can get edge length here. I'm putting 803 mils of cloth, stitching it into half of that, 400. So that's why you're getting these really lovely ripples. So you can manipulate your cloth to do really cool shit by stitching shorter pieces onto longer pieces or longer edges into other ones. What I like to do before I manipulate the sewing seam is I like to put down a cut. This adds a point to the pattern. Because I can then get an exact measurement of what I'm stitching it into. Because most of the time I want to keep my edges the same length that I'm stitching into. So I like to cut them. So you can do all kinds of stuff. You can add a curve using the curve tool. These all have hotkeys. So C for curvature, edit curve point, edit pattern. You can even transform point segments by holding down. Usually in there's like a toolbar, there's preferences where you can collapse. They're usually all collapsed into one. But yeah, you can just edit the curves. So now I've got a nice, like, I don't know, slopey bit. If I wanted to add tears to it, I could do a couple of ways. I could use internal lines to do this. And then I can cut. Right-clicking the pattern while having the segment, I can cut. I can use these somewhere else, or I can just delete them. So now I've got rips in my cloth, or I can just add points and manipulate those points. Doesn't matter. But you can do really cool things. So what I want to do is add some piping. So we're gonna go up here. We're gonna go to the piping tool, which is this piping. It's gonna allow me to click and I'm just dragging along this line and double click to finish. And now I've added a pipe. Now it's not quite gotten to the end here because I like to do things in simulation mode. I'm a crazy person. So I can reset the 3D view for this. I can then edit the piping by clicking the edit piping button and dragging this point over. Now this piping properties are over here. We can set it to a different fabric. We can change the width. This one I'll put it to 5. We can even change the particle distance. Ooh, this is going to be painful. So now we have piping here. Another thing we can do is actually add lining to this. This is one of my favorite things. So I can go layer clone under. It will stitch the sides together. we'll make another thing. I want it to come through like that. I'm going to move this forward a little bit so that when they stitch together, they're not intersecting. We'll try not to. And there we have a double-sided lined piece of fabric. Gives it chunkiness, it makes it look pillowy. I don't know, it's really nice. And I didn't have to change the fabric properties for it. Go into my fabric, I can change this to silk knit jersey to give it a nice heavy feel. I'm gonna add a new fabric type. Oh, this one lining, and we'll give it a different color. You can change the color here. And then we just select the thing, we go down here to fabric, and we just go lining. We can even change the type of the fabric that it is. We can go, I don't know, linen. This back part is not having a fun time with the front part. What else is there to show you? A couple of things, I think. Sometimes you'll have some bugs and stuff that you might encounter, or things that kind of shit you off when you're making a pin and it's stuck inside the model. You won't be able to edit it. You won't be able to grab it. You'll be like, fuck, what do I do? So you just pause simulation, you pull it out, you delete it, or you move it this way. You drag this back in. And you have it. What are other things? Like, imagine if I wanted this to be wider at the bottom. I can do a couple of ways. Do this a couple of ways. So I can select this. I can then go to transform point segment. I can then double click the middle to make it scale from the middle and do this. I don't know why the lining freaks out. It goes the opposite of what I want it to go. Very strange. I might have to delete the lining. The interesting thing is that when you delete the lining, it deletes your piping as well. I think. Well, it did on my last project, and I was like, oh, well, I guess I'll just redo the piping then. Thanks. It didn't this time. Nice. Sometimes the piping will get the piping and line and the second layer. Sometimes they freak out, so you might have to. I like to do the piping first and then do the second layer. Each up to you. You can do it like that. You can also use this tool to just fix it within a pattern. Yes, okay. You can also do something like this. Fix it. Oops. Hit a pattern. Cut. Rid of this. And then I can sew these two pieces together. So now I'm tightening this area while keeping this area. Got a nice little seam. I can do top stitching using one of these buttons around here. I can be like, I want this to have stitches. Or something. Actually, no, I don't really use it. Let's see if I can tape this. I can. It's just for the avatar. What if I want to add avatar tape? Do something. I don't know. Yeah. edit, tag, edit tag, tag onto avatar, edit line tag, line tag onto avatar. This. Yeah, quite sure. I'll have to look into it. I don't really use it. I just use these point things. I could probably do a line tag. Hi, Wally. Anyway, I don't know what I'm doing. So basically, those are the basics. So once you figured out that shit, you pretty much are set. So pressing W, holding W, and clicking with this button on, in or out of simulation lets you make a point that you can tack onto anything in the world. You can delete them by pressing W and clicking them again. Sewing. This lets you edit a sew, so if you want to delete this thing here, you can click it, press delete, gets rid of it. Turns off simulation, turn it back on. And now this is no longer sewn. Simulation properties are in here. You can change them. But yeah, that's basically Marvelous Designer in a nutshell. If you want to export, just go here, export as FBX. If you want it one-sided, just tick the tick it as thin. If you want it double-sided, I wouldn't recommend it, but thick. And that's it. Hope it helped. Bye.